Waiting for that little eye up there. Here we go. Here we go.
Super serious.
Not yet. There we go. Everybody ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
No.
No.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. Welcome to Creative Makers Podcast with your host, Joey with Steel Blade Woodworks, Matt with Wacky Works Workshop, Jen with Jen's Turns, Jamie with JP Woodwork, and Jake with Northside Custom Crafts. Welcome everyone to episode 13, where we're going to tell you how to become a YouTuber. Continued. There we go. Try. Yeah, we're going to try. Hello, everybody. I'm Joey with Steel Blade Woodworks, and I guess we'll just go around the table right now and introduce ourselves.
Matt?
Oh. Hey, I'm Matt Wackerly with Wacky Works. You can do a lot of woodworking, resin casting, and stuff like that. You can see all the links down below.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jamie, JP Woodwork. All the good stuff across the socials. Jake lets me do a show with him on a Saturday. Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah. My name is Jake Thompson. I'm super lucky enough for Jamie to let me do a show with him every Saturday called Saturday Morning Cartoons. Come and see us.
And I am Jen with Jen's Turn, and I have the pleasure of trying to keep all these guys in one focus.
How'd you get that job?
That's a tough job to do.
I don't want to pull out of that one.
All right. Well, I think last week we kind of week before, it wasn't last week. Week before we kind of left off on the equipment needed. So I guess we'll just kind of do a little overview on that and then move on to the next most important thing we think that needs to be done to become a YouTuber. So anybody want to chime in on this first?
So where do we stop at? We talked about using our phones.
Yeah, we didn't get into cameras or any kind of other stuff. We were just talking
editing
about
software is about. I think where we stopped at is editing software.
Yeah, we touched on that a little bit. There's so there's all sorts of stuff out there. As far as your phone's the easiest because we all have one. If you want to go into, I guess, get crazy with it, you can get you a DSLR. That's another option that a lot of people use. Just from my experience, just make sure if you're gonna get one, do your research on them, of course, and make sure that the sound. Your sound is a big part of it. They'll forgive you for video, but they're not going to forgive you for sound. And when you go into the editing part of your video, that's when the ugly truth will present itself. And when you hear what you recorded, and some of those cameras, there's all different, types of mics. And, that's where it gets, like I have a DSLR and it's a cheaper one, right? But the mic is hideous on it. The mic that comes on that, and it's a Canon camera, but that mic is horrible. I mean, it picks up, if the wind blows and it rattles the tin, it'll pick that up. But if you have a fan running in the barn or in your shop and it's way off, you'll hear that hiss in the background. And I'm not good at editing the audio part. I've tried to mess with it, but that's one thing that to me, it's hard to get out. And that can be really annoying for somebody sitting there trying to watch like a 9 or 10 minute video. What do y'all think?
Yeah. And not to be one as well, not to be one to pick on Jake here, but I'm going to. So I know Jake had a little bit of an issue in the YouTube's comments before he sorted his audio out with regards to being in the workshop as well and having a little bit of echo. It couldn't be helped on his part because of the building he was in. But until he sorted out his audio, he was getting a lot of nasty comments. So yeah, they're very unforgiving when they come to the audio side of things. You can have acceptable visual, but audio they're not so nice.
Yeah, it was always, can you get rid of that echo? I'm like, I'm recording in a 2,000 square foot tin can. And so it had to. So like us putting the resin room in the shop has helped with that. So even I got lavalier mics and a few different ones. I'll probably do a video sometime over all the different microphones I have, and people are going to think I'm psycho about how many I have. It's ridiculous, but you keep searching for the thing that, like Joey said, I don't know how to edit it besides turn it up and turn it down. You can mess around with some stuff, but then it makes you sound like a robot.
Yeah.
So the best one's going to be the one that you can just put on and use, and it just works, and you can adjust the volume up and down. But it is unforgiving in the YouTube world to have bad audio, and I was lucky to do as good as I did early on because I got murdered about audio.
Yeah, I mean, go on, Joe.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that we've actually found out recently, since starting the podcast as well, there are AI apps that can also help with audio as well.
And they'll help, because I had one that I put out, and I still put it out, but it was a learning process. So I had some lavalier mics, but I had a set that was a cheaper set. And you would have thought I had just tried to run to the road and back, as big as I am, because it picked up every breath. It was hideous. It was very hideous. And I send it to that AI app, and it's by Adobe, and it helped it, but it didn't completely take it out. And that's where, when you place those lavalier mics, Jake could probably, everybody can attest to this. When you put it on your shirt and it starts scratching and moving, you're gonna hear it. And especially if it's on a part that needs to stay in the video, you can't get that out. And if you're not good at editing your audio, that's something that you need to pay close attention to, where that lavalier mic is. Like for me, I'm a big boy, so I breathe heavy.
No way.
Yeah. If y'all didn't know, and I gotta really, really pay attention to where I put, if I do a lavalier mic. I've since stopped using them, and I've gone to a Rode mic that's a directional mic. Now, if we're going to hit on this, there is so many different types of mics. So the directional mic is basically when it's pointed at you, you're talking to it, right? And then I think there's omnidirectional, where it's going to pick up all around. So you need to be very, very, very good, or what should I say? You need to pay close attention to when you're purchasing one to make sure what type of mic it is. Don't just think you're buying a mic and a Rode mic that it's going to solve all your problems. It's not, if you don't pick the right one.
Well, for me, when I was on, I don't remember if it was Jake's Patreon or Saturday Morning Cartoons. I think it was Cartoons. And I was just using my AirPods, and they were picking up the fan in my computer. So it sounded, every time I talked, it sounded like the ocean. I couldn't tell, but everybody else was hearing it, and it ruined the audio for Jake's show, which is why I have these headphones on.
We still lived. We made it, but
so and it brings up a good point. Even like what we're doing now with the podcast, and eventually, we'll all be on the same deal. But the mics that you use for these podcasts, because really, we have this on live on YouTube, right? And we're recording, and y'all could hear us, but we have to pay close attention to that. This is going to go and be uploaded for an audio file on our podcaster. And that's where we got to pay close attention to, because people are not going to actually see the video. They're just going to be listening to our voices. So, you know, like if y'all have noticed a difference in my sound is I ended up getting a mic just like Jake. We all
Hey.
kind of have been researching, and we picked up these mics that are now made by Shure, and they're awesome mics. You know, that's what a lot of people recommend to use. So our voices are a lot crisper. I can tell the difference just in my headphones from
You
what I
and
was
you
using.
and Matt are sounding awesome, man. I tell you that.
Hope we're looking
Thank you
good
very
too,
much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
There was a question from Mark L in the chat. He says, so if one were starting and not fully mic'd up, it would be better to do videos as voiceovers? Question mark.
yeah, I mean, go ahead, Jake.
So you can do that, or you can do music videos, or a combination of both. But you also, I think experience is very valuable. So if you do go ahead and make a crappy video, and then you'll know firsthand this microphone doesn't work, because you might buy it, you might think you have a good microphone, but you're not going to really know until you get it shot, edited, and then you go, oh, that's not the right microphone or whatever.
That
Because
was horrible.
I'm still doing it. And
Yeah.
I've went through, there was something else in there too. I think it was, but anyway, I've had ones like this week. The video I put out today, the very first part of the video, I didn't have my new microphone, and I did it with a Rode mic with a lavalier. Sounds good. Everything's fine. I got it figured out, but I got a new microphone. It's actually a lot cheaper. So the last half of that video was done with that, but I was kind of nervous because I'm going to ruin a video. It's already a talking video. I can't go to music after that. But it ended up being okay. But it's just one of those deals. You might have to. I have had videos where, well, this just turned into a music video because the audio was pretty bad. But I think you do need to get a little bit of, go ahead and make some videos, even if no one sees them. You can figure out how it sounds and how satisfied or dissatisfied you're going to be with it.
You know, voiceover works every once in a while, but I mean, if you're not good at that either, or have a good mic with that, it's still going to be.
Yeah. Good point, Matt.
Yeah.
Good point. That's where you gotta have a good quality mic for if you're going to be doing voiceover, something like this, that's going to be crisp. And even though you don't think, just sitting in an office or sitting in wherever you're recording, you will get echoes, and it's still going to be there. So you got to keep all that in mind when you're recording, like ceiling fans going. Of course, these things have voice isolation and all sorts of stuff on them. So it's one of those things. I mean, like everybody says, do your first video. Just, you're going to learn, and you'll learn as you go. This is just my opinion, what I've learned as I'm doing, and I'm no professional at this. So, you know, there's a lot of people out there, Jake, they've all put a lot of videos out and they've learned. I'm starting to learn, if you're going to do a voiceover, you need to shoot your video for a voiceover. So don't shoot your video talking to the camera and then try to do a voiceover to match your movements, because you're going to hate it. You're not going to be able to do it. So if you're going to shoot footage, shoot it to where you know that you're going to come in and do a voiceover on it. That's just my input on that, because I've got a ton of videos that I've got saved footage that I won't put out because the audio is just trash, and I'm not even going to try to do a voiceover. So, you know, maybe I can come up with a creative way to utilize that footage somehow. But I mean, to me, it's not worth my time. It's just, you learn from those mistakes and
move on.
Move on.
The video I did last week, me and my daughter Jackie were out there. We were filming. It was that dust stopper thing, and so if we stop for a minute, we turn the air conditioner on. As soon as we get ready to film again, I turn the air conditioner off, because you know there's going to be that sound in the back, and it was hot. So towards the end of it, we're like, hurry up, it's hot, man.
But and there's another thing, when you're editing your video, headphones. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, I did mine on like a computer, and I did it for a longest time doing a computer, and you don't hear that audio as well on that little bitty speaker. And you're being quiet because you're in the house and you're doing your little editing. And then Joey hit me up and said, "Hey man, you know you can hear your fans in the background, right?" No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But sure, you can hear it big time. And
So that's a good point. These headphones, what they do is they seal, and they don't let that what do you call it?
Ambient noise.
Well, but it's like
White
you
noise.
get interference, like when you're the word slipped my mind right now. I was trying to think
distortion?
no. Backfeed. You get backfeed without
Feedback,
these,
yeah.
Feedback. I'm saying it wrong, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna go on a reel.
You got the hold on.
Backward back feed.
You got the back feed. You got the
Yeah.
feedback back feed.
Hey.
You just say it for Spanish. Go ahead.
But yeah,
Um,
that's my heritage coming out in me.
You forgot the O.
I'm thinking of it in Spanish, and you say everything backwards in Spanish, and well, it's coming out in English that way. But anyhow, yeah, that's I learned that not too long ago. I didn't realize that these headphones do serve a purpose. Like if you're going to be doing a voiceover, it won't allow sound to come in. All you're doing is hearing what you're talking, right?
Yes.
If that makes sense. Like that.
Do you guys have more to talk about on audio, or you want to go on to this next question?
Go ahead.
Get it?
Bear Paws Woodshop says, which kind of video gets more views, talking head or voiceover?
If I knew that, that's all I would do.
Exactly.
Depends on what the algorithm gods are asking for that day.
That
Exactly.
day or that minute.
Yeah.
And a talking head video, you need to have some B-roll coming in or some graphics or something coming in and changing to keep everybody's attention. And then the other, if you're voiceovering, there's going to be action, whether you're turning or making something or drill it, whatever you're doing that you're talking about, there's going to be action. That's probably more important than which one is that keeping your audience occupied. And if I knew the answer to that, you would know, because that's all that would be on my channel. But who knows on that one.
So one thing that Jake pointed out to me one time too is when you're shooting that video and you're doing audio and you got all of this stuff going on, keep changing that camera view, because it's like your short. I'm not saying short attention span, but you keep changing it. It makes your eye go to it because it's changed. It's moved. Well, what changed? What moved? What happened there? And that helps out with that tremendously. So going into all that, how you did that, how you showed me how to do that, how you changed that whole view of what was going on, maybe that made a huge difference of paying attention to what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can also incorporate like transitions. It's just something that changes, that gets you back into, get interested or whatever. If you're kind of just there and it changes and there's a flicker or something, right?
Yeah, what happened? Yeah.
Like a pan and zoom and something like that.
So what I used to do, and I don't do it so much anymore, I still do it, but not as bad. It used to be every 4 seconds. Every little clip would be 4 seconds, and there would be a change somewhere. Whether I just cut it and crop the next 4 seconds to change the view a little bit. And what lately with this video I did today, whenever there was going from like one specific thing to another, I would do a transition and then have the sound effect in there. And it just adds a little bit of something extra to it. And you don't want to overdo it with that kind of stuff and filters, and you don't want to overdo it, but do it enough to where it just keeps things interesting and stuff, and keeps them. And obviously I don't have it all the way figured out, but it's just another one of those things. You try harder, you try to do something every time to make your videos better.
Yeah.
Yeah, just and this
Yay! That's going back to Jake's video.
Sweet tea. Yay. I put the little kid, put the kids.
Yay.
Yay.
and just like just make sure, like going back to the equipment, whatever you buy, make sure that it allows you to plug in external devices like mics, because don't just think that every DSLR camera out there is going to let you plug a mic into it. That you better do your research, because I made that mistake, and you end up with a expensive piece of equipment that you're just depending on the mic that it has. So, and one of those, I would just say for now, if you're just going to start, use your phone, and you're just going to have to move it around to try to get in there to get good shots of what you're doing. Because once you get into a camera, now you're talking about different lenses, wide angle lenses, so that you can get, a wider shot. And I don't know a whole lot about them, but I'm starting to. And that's where it gets a little frustrating too, because if you're trying to get B-roll, like for instance, one of the videos I just put out, my main camera ran out of space on the card. So I said, well, I'll just take this other DSLR camera, which I was shooting B-roll with, and just use it to do the end credits of the video and whatever. What ended up happening when I brought it on the computer and started doing the edit, going back, and I had to go reshoot it all with the main camera, because it was just a total different, Jake saw it, a total different picture, different sound, different everything, and it didn't match. It was hideous. So I was like, yeah. So if you're doing a project and you did a glue up, you're not going to be able to go back and redo that, right? So you need to keep that in mind. There's so many different things that you'll learn as you start doing this, as you start making videos and doing the content that you'll be like, you go ahead.
If I used to, I kind of haven't figured out. I have a snowball microphone that I do voiceovers with, and I can do it with this microphone right here. It just doesn't sound the same as the lavalier mic, but the snowball's pretty close. And I actually did it on the video that came out today. But what I used to do is when I needed to voiceover so it would sound the same, I'd get my phone and hook the lavalier mic up to it, and I would just hit record another video, and I would talk into it, and then put that in the editor,
cut the audio,
and then detach the audio from it, or I just put it. You can put it on the timeline to where it doesn't show the picture, just has the sound, and I would do voiceover like that. So just so it would sound the same. So there's workarounds for microphones and things like that. But I do think it is important to have it. If you're like this, the one today, I was talking in it as I'm explaining things, and there was a couple times throughout there that I needed to voice over. Now they need to sound similar, or it's distracting. Like if you have one that's normal and then one that's real dark or light or whatever, then it's going to be distracting to the audience, and you need to figure out how to make it as close as possible.
Yeah.
Well, we can go on to the next one. I guess we can beat that horse all a long time, but I guess we need to move on to another one. It's how do we develop our content? And there's another long one.
Yeah.
Anybody want to take that on first?
Well, first, any questions in the chat, go ahead and put QQQ and put some questions in there. We'll be happy to get to them. Developing content is, everybody's going to have their own thing. I kind of have a thing now where I know what I'm going to do. I go into it just like you said earlier. I know if this video is going to be a voiceover, or if it's going to be a music video, or I'm going to just talk as I go. I need to know that before I start. And you need to tell a story, and it needs to be start to finish. Don't be incomplete, because you're gonna learn real quick that something that I might understand very easily, Matt might not. unless it has to do with airflow or math, he's going to understand the crap out of it. But like simple, I was a master mechanic for 8 years. So something mechanical that's super easy for me is not super easy for everybody else. And I have to realize that. So if I need to take a couple minutes and say, okay, this is how this works, which I had to learn that because all the comments are like, how did you do that? You didn't show that. How come you didn't show that? So now I've just kind of learned that I need to, whenever I tell this story, I need to go over certain details that I might not have to explain to myself, but somebody else might not just know. So I kind of go into it with an outline and the hot points I need to cover, and then to make sure the shots are there and everything, and then just go on throughout the process. But it's one of those, you just don't go into it blindly. You can, I mean, if you're wood turning something, obviously it's just record what you're doing and then decide what kind of video you want, whether it's voiceover or music or whatever. But once you start doing like the dust collection video, I knew that I need to show it. I need to talk about it. I need to unbox it, put it together, do the tests, and then wrap it all up in a nice, neat package to where somebody's going to enjoy watching it. Now that's what I do. So you guys might have not be right there. You might put out different content. So that's how I package my content. So who's next?
I think it makes a difference. Like you do a lot of instructional videos, Jake. So definitely doing the outline and having your talking points and making sure you cover the step-by-step and everything, versus tutorials are artistic too, but an artsy video, and you're going to turn it into a music video kind of thing where you're developing more of a feeling reaction rather than I'm going to be a nerd and say cerebral reaction. They're learning something versus feeling.
Those are brains, guys. Those are brains. Cerebrals are brains.
You're supposed to be wearing glasses when you say that.
I don't know what glasses are. But you know what I mean. If like when I'm pouring the wall art pieces, I'm trying to think what camera angle is going to give a good angle of the pour. How am I going to show which colors are looking good and how they're blending? What kind of music am I going to put on it? Joey likes to use rock music in his. If I'm doing a slow resin pour, I'm probably not going to try to rock out to it. It's more of a calm feeling sort of thing. So there's a lot of different variations you can do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I've started now to where I'm trying to make myself maybe not a script, but I've listened to some other things here lately where it's like kind of like what Bear Paws is saying. I'm gonna I was gonna talk about that anyways, but like making a storyboard, figuring out what you're gonna do, what is your video gonna be about, and then planning what shots you think you're gonna need that people are gonna want to watch during that process. Whether to me, in my opinion, whether you're doing an instructional video on how to put something together or making something, it's still instructional. Or if you're going to do a tool review to compare two different tools, you still need to know what you're going to talk about, the key features on those tools, how you're going to lay it out from start to finish. That way, when you're going to set your cameras up, where you're going to put them at, so you're not having to move them so much. If you can try to get an idea, you can position those cameras and you're not having to stop and move around and do that, because that consumes a lot of time and it just makes things go a lot longer. And you can probably do that process a lot easier, because I still cut out a lot of
StreamYard just did it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Did it. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I never used to do that. And I'm just now starting to do that because I'm trying to put out a better quality. You know, if I'm going to waste the time to sit there and put that out there and record, I want to try to do it at the best of my ability, you know, because we're trying to get views, you know, it's what it's about, and bring something to y'all that's going to make sense. Right.
So what was that? Was that Bear Paw's question there? Do you storyboard?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Bear Paws was do you storyboard and write a script.
So
we
go ahead.
Go on.
No,
I
we
was
do.
going to say,
Go on,
Jake.
You
Go
say
on.
go on and start talking. So yesterday for cartoons, me and Jamie sat down. We have our secretary made us a form that we fill out, and it's just a rough outline. And it's better than trying to memorize something or whatever. So we do it. We sat down. Probably takes us 10 minutes to do it. What's the first project? Who's the shout out? Who's the guess whose art? What's the next project? What color is the eye candy thing? All of that gets done. Boom, and then we're done. So I kind of take the same approach with a video too. I don't go through a whole script. I just kind of outline, and I do keywords and things I for sure want to hit, and then that's it. Because I don't want it to feel like I'm reading or I had something memorized or it's not normal. So you need, because that's just weird too. If they feel like you're reading from something or whatever, but then on the flip side of that, I say there's a bunch of uhs and everything. So you will get good at editing uhs out and getting that stuff out of there. But just as far as scripts go, I can't do a whole script, but I definitely do an outline for every video.
Yeah. So I don't script at all because I'll be doing a lot like that. But I think the only time I've ever storyboarded as such as when I did the lathe overview. And I basically just got a whiteboard and wrote down a few features of the lathe and just put that behind the camera. So when I was reading it out, I could basically say, okay, it's got this, and just so I knew not to miss anything as I was going down the list.
That will be a reel there, Jimmy.
That I know. But when we get to actually making the videos, I know exactly kind of what I'm going to do, and I mean I've turned enough things over the years, and because I'm limited to space in my workshop, I know exactly where the camera is going to go or where it can go. So all I really know is I haven't done a scroll saw project for a long time, but I usually record every single part of that and then just cut out what I don't want in the editor. And when it comes to turning, I usually record every single part of that, except for usually 240 and 120 grit sandpaper. And that's about it, really. I usually record every single part of that and then just cut out the bits that I don't want. So, Matt,
I have to have an outline. I've tried. The last video I just did was without an outline, and it was turned out not very good. But I have to. The best one I think the outline I did is me and Joe did a collaboration in a video, and it worked out really well. Being able to, I didn't really storyboard it, but I put down points of what I wanted to discuss, what I wanted to talk, and how to pronunciate a word, and couldn't get it out, but still tried and sounded it out many times. But
anemometer,
anemometer,
airflow. But being able to write out, I mean, you don't necessarily have to shoot it in order, but you have to be able to put it in order which makes sense. If you don't, it just the whole video doesn't make sense. So I have to do somewhat of a storyboard. It's not precise. It's not like you're writing down a script and you're in a play and you're writing down word for word. But being able to articulate it back to people in a way that they can understand it. Like Jake said, sometimes I use more technical stuff, and maybe dumbing it down would be, that's a bad word to say, but it's not dumbing it down. It's making it more common to understand. There you go.
Comprehensible.
There you go.
Seems like
Good word.
is now the word of the day.
That's right.
You lose, Jen.
Yeah.
Just to make it one
But
of
I
those
did it on
games.
purpose.
It don't matter. You still lost. It don't matter.
Yeah.
I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. The next question from the chat is from Brickhouse Craftworks, and he says, JP, have you noticed a difference in your engagement since making the change, excuse me, to more voice-over content versus the music style videos?
So one of the the things you kind of need to realize about YouTube is you're never going to please everybody.
Nope.
And that's something I certainly realized when going through the transition.
What was that like?
So I put a poll out and basically says what kind of videos do people like, and they all voted and they all agreed do this kind of video. So I was like, all right, I'll put out that kind of video. And before I did that, people were saying, stop the music videos, do voiceovers, we want tool sounds, blah blah blah. And I didn't really want to go that far into it because I'll be honest with everybody, the noise that goes on around my house of a day, it can't happen. So there's got to be some sort of music in there somewhere. So I decided to choose music and a voiceover as opposed to lathe sounds. So with that, I went with that instead of lathe sounds. So when I started putting them contents out, I started getting people saying, we just want music videos. So there you go. You just can't win. So I think it's just you put out what you think's better, and then if you need to decide to change it later on down the line because you feel that that's the best way to go, then go whatever way you think is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and like Jake says, and like he does in his videos, it's okay to mix it up too. You don't always have
Yeah,
to do
oh yeah,
voiceovers
absolutely.
or always music.
Absolutely.
As far as comments go, though, you have to take them with a grain of salt because I got handled pretty good by some dude that just bought a dust stopper. He didn't even watch the video. He was just assuming that I was trying to make Onata look better than dust stopper. So he like pretty much, he didn't cuss me out, but he gave me a good lashing in the comments. And then I pointed out to him, I was like, I said all this, and I don't think he watched the video. So he come back and said, well, you were right. I just thought you were being mean. So you can listen to the comments, but you don't even know if they watched or not. You have no idea. And then there was I did a black and white video. The piece had a bunch of colors in it, and then all of a sudden, boom, it just turned black and white. So randomly.
Hello.
Are we
What?
back?
Hello.
That was cool. Well, anyway, I had a bunch of people in there telling me, don't, some people were real polite about it. Please go back to color or whatever. And then I had some people were real rude about it. But that video actually did better than the other one. So who do you listen to your views and the likes, or do you listen to the people in the comments? You just have to make a overall decision on how that video really did. So the comments, God bless them. I love comments, but one comment out of 10 will make you mad. The other 9 are beautiful. And then that one will get you. I tongue lashed that dude pretty good back anyway. Anyway, I'll digress off of that.
I thought we were going down. Not going
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty weird. Ken Norwood says, do you have to have something like YouTube Premium to put a video out more than 2 minutes?
No purchase necessary.
Nah.
No.
You don't have to have anything like that. Once you have your channel made which once you have a Gmail account and you sign into YouTube, you have a channel. It's just when you choose to produce a video and upload it, and you got to fill in some other things, your channel is live, and you can put a long video as long as you want on there. It doesn't matter. You don't need to pay to play.
Yeah. I will
At least,
say
at least for that much. I mean, there's other things you got to pay for that if you want to help yourself out. But
so maybe you need to know the difference. But if you put a video in there that's shorter than a minute, it's going to be a short.
Yep.
And it's going to come. It's going to have a short URL. So you need to know, and it needs to be shot in that format. It needs the
portrait.
What you call it? Portrait format.
9:16.
And if it's going to be longer than a minute, you need to shoot it in the other one. So
landscape.
Yeah, landscape. I'm letting you guys use all the big words.
I'm using my cerebral.
Got the old cerebrals going, man.
What I will also say is that you need to set your channel up so it's not made for kids. It's something about the copper license or something like that. That doesn't allow kids or something like that. It's all explained to you on your channel.
What is going on?
Here we go.
This is awesome.
Ooh.
Musical chairs.
Yeah.
That StreamYard's having an issue right now, I guess, because the interweb
that's StreamYard going,
yeah, you broke them by all the ums you said a while ago.
So the reel's going to be over a minute long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. We got anything to add to that?
Now, what was it? So we take clips off of here, and Joey went to put one on that was a minute and 1 second, and he went to put it as a short, and then I went and looked, and it was the wrong format and everything. I'm like, whoa. So you have to pay attention to that minute mark if you're going to go from a short to a long form video. Hashtag just saying.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind, because once you produce it, like on my software, once I do the editing in there, then I produce it, and then it puts it out in the format or all the settings that YouTube requires. So y'all will figure it out. If you decide to do this and go forward, this editing software you use, at least for mine, has to have certain settings put in it when I produce the video, right? So that way YouTube will take it when you upload it, because if you don't put the proper settings in there, it won't accept the video, because it's got certain settings like MP4. There's some other ratios that need to be set in your software. Are you getting some feedback?
Yep.
I don't know what happened.
One of those days. This is growing pains, man.
Yeah.
I like it.
It was going good till all this little hurricane started going.
Hey,
who knows?
It's all on what you do when it happens.
Keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Anyhow, everybody be quiet now.
Who's causing it?
It's great for the audio.
Yeah.
Check your phone volume, Joey.
It's not me, Jen. My phones are off.
Yeah.
It's probably Jamie listening to music in the background and then turn it off. Anyhow, so that kind of goes to one of the deals we wanted to hit on, is when you upload your video to YouTube. And I'm not going to give specific settings because I think it's different for I'm different. I'm different. I don't use Filmora like these guys do.
Oh,
and gals.
We weren't going to say anything. But.
Yeah, so
got all that back feed.
I'm the black sheep of the family here. I'm different. I use a totally different software, so my settings are different. when I upload videos. It's the same settings that YouTube requires. You'll just have to search bar, figure out what your software needs to be set at, or how do you put those parameters in there. Because I still don't know how they're Filmora like I was saying, when I'm done editing, I actually hit a button that says produce, and it'll take me to a totally different screen. And that's where all those settings, I already have them saved, and it'll produce that video with all those proper settings. And then I just save it into a file on my desktop. And then from there, when I go into my YouTube studios, that's where when I hit upload, I go into that file, grab that video and bring it up. And that's when you start putting your thumbnail, your descriptions, your keywords, your tags, everything goes in there. So y'all got something to add to that?
No, I just on Filmora, you just, as soon as you go in there to make a video, it asks you what format you want. 16:9, 9:16, landscape, portrait. See, I know all those big words. I was just trying to make you guys feel better.
He's no bad.
And then you get through
He has
it.
glasses on too.
Yeah. So you get through it, and then when it says export, and all I do is says export, and then it says like quality or something like that. You click it, and you go to best, and then you hit export. You pick where you want it to go on your computer. Export, it goes right there, and then you go to YouTube and download it to YouTube. It's super easy. Super easy.
Super.
So anything else, Matt? Y'all, did we miss something? I mean, there's a lot more to this. I mean, we can go on and on. We can go back and re-hit some of these other ones. I don't know if we left stuff out. This kind of just a basic overview of what we wanted to talk about.
Like an overview
There's a comment.
We're trying to read Mark's comment.
Yeah. Mark says, Matt, when I was working, my input was that if instructions or a process required more than one page, it would not be read nor followed. I think he's responding to Matt, the wooden mustache, who said that it's common IT joke. People don't read or watch directions.
Yeah, that's why we ended up frying 4. What are they, Matt?
Anemometers.
There you go. That's
it took 2 years, man. 2 years of training on that thing.
Attaboy. So y'all don't know that story when Matt and I collaborated, or basically we took both of our dust collectors apart completely down to nothing, which were the Harbor Freight dust collectors. Matt did his upgrade with different components than what I did. So we fried some anemometers in the process because we didn't read instructions. Why do we need instructions? I don't know. I just kept throwing them away. And the first one, I was just like a kid in a candy store, right? I went up to my big dust collector, my Grizzly, and I put it up there because I wanted to see how much that thing sucked, because it's a massive dust collector, right? So I put that anemometer up to it. That thing started sucking, and the next thing I know, the little fan in there just stopped. I was like, what? And Matt was on the phone and was like, dude, it stopped. It spun it so bad in the wrong direction. We found out 3 anemometers later. and it basically glued, the plastic got so hot that it froze, that it just melted the plastic
itself.
And it just adhered to itself. And
goodness.
The second one, I tried it. That dust collector, that Grizzly ate 2 of them. The second one, I ordered another one, got it, went back up to that dust collector, and it pulled the fin off, right? Did it to you too. So
yeah, I lost a fin in on 2 of them.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't read instructions very well. But anyway,
the end result was we didn't read the instructions still. It happened. We looked down at it, and inside the fan shroud, there's an arrow. And we went, oh.
What's that arrow for? Maybe we need to read the instructions. So we pulled the
That was
instructions
the
out.
airflow is supposed to be going, and we were actually reading it the wrong way.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Yeah. So follow instructions. Read and follow instructions.
And I will say, so we're talking about doing YouTube. If you're going to do an instructional video, speaking of this anemometer, the last video that I did over dust stoppers, I had it in my hand, and it kind of appeared that my hand was in the way, but it's like pretty far away. It's not stopping any air. And I had the anemometer calibrated a little off. And it only takes a few little numbers. There's a big equation you got to put in there. So, but the thing is, when you do something and you're saying something is a fact, it needs to be a fact or you're going to get murdered in the comments, because there's a bunch of egghead dudes out there. So I met Matt. There's a bunch of guys. There's a bunch of people out there that they're, well, on this video I just did, and I recalibrated. Everything's fine. But the old one, and I was doing two similar products that made by the same company, so I didn't get hurt that bad. But it didn't have the right numbers. This one does. So now if somebody goes back and looks at the other one, they go, well, how come this one does? How come these do this numbers and that doesn't? So it's one of those deals where, you need to at least be right or do your homework before you do some kind of instructional video, unless you just come out with it and say, hey, I've never done this before, but we're going to do it together and learn. And that's a good way to do it too. And you stay out of trouble that way.
Hold the neck, go watch this.
There's a lesson to be had there. You want to be friends with Jake? Troll him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was, what was that? It was on the moisture
Stabilizing.
I was doing stabilizing.
Yeah.
So I used a moisture meter just because I had it. They had no bearing on the video whatsoever, but I did a moisture meter. I'm like, it's starting off at this. Well, by the time I dried it, it lost a certain amount of weight. Well, what the moisture meter said the percentage was and the amount of weight it lost didn't match. I didn't even pay attention because it didn't matter to me. It mattered to Matt a lot. So he was like, hey, it said you're like 5% off or whatever it was. And I was like, well, you're right. He was so right. I couldn't get mad at him. And he wasn't a jerk about it like this guy yesterday. So he wasn't a jerk about it. So it's one of those deals like I did learn something, and I haven't used that moisture meter since.
Well, I'll tell you a little story and this is a little off topic, but when it comes to concrete, mathematics, or paving roads, which I learned today talking to Matt, I felt I was driving and I was doing it, safely, hands-free. And I was coming down the interstate and I said, man, they're paving the road and they do this. 30 minutes later, he gave me the whole stew about how and why they pave roads, because he inspects that stuff. That's part of his deal. And I was like, man, I'll never ask you that again. I learned.
Yeah.
Mess around and find out.
I learned about impaction, and I was just, dang, man. I was just talking. I was just talking about how hot those guys were because it's freaking 100 degrees over here, and they're paving the road. Next thing I know, we're in this long out 30-minute.
I just wanted to say good morning, dude. Golly.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something, Joe. When it all started with the Romans back in.
It did break down limestone compared to granite. Yeah.
Oh man, that was something else. That was funny. So
Mark says, ask him the time and he tells you how to make a watch.
Here you go. Properly.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Correct.
That's correct.
So
All right.
what else do we want to add to this?
I say we do a quick wrap up of all the equipment. Just a quick overview of all the equipment. So just to going through the thought process in my head. You have a tripod, camera, mic, listening device, editing software, content that you actually want to put out. Go ahead.
I had the DSLR camera, the one that Jamie ended up with, and the lens that I liked, I had it on a flimsy tripod. So I was just moving around, trying to move it around. Boom, broke it. $150 lens. So it's one of those. If you have a big heavy camera, make sure you have a tripod that matches. That's going to be sturdy and nice, because that hurt my feelings and my pocket.
I had one with a flexible arm on it, and I put it above my lathe so I could do a good shot. I'm turning.
Yeah.
And there was a camera that came down.
Slingshotted it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would highly recommend that you invest some money in a tripod, regardless if it's just your phone, because those are expensive too. They cost more than a DSLR in some cases, right? So and it'll just be a lot sturdier. It's not going to move on you. You know, a bunch of them, like the ones I've got, they got a lot of adjustment in them. So, you know, you can get to the proper height. You know, there's a lot of things you can do with them. Go ahead. Also,
I learned a lesson early on, is to not to put the camera or the tripod on the table you're working on. I was doing a scroll saw video, and it'll make you puke, man. It was horrible. It was horrible. It was just vibrating all over crazy, but you don't know till you're done and you're in the editor.
I did. I had one with these arms, and I wrapped it around my tailstock and turned the bowl. Got to the end of the video, I'm like, it's just bouncing all over the place.
I will add this to it. Now, there's another thing. GoPros. I wanted to touch on that. GoPros, and I don't know if we have or not, they're good for certain things, but not for, and this is my opinion, right? Some other people, content creators, may say, no, I don't like the way they do that pan, or how that
fisheye
like a
look, and
walleye vision.
Yeah, they're good if you're going to do like a close-up. Like, I've finally started learning a little more with them, but just like close-ups, like if you want to put it on a saw to get slow-mo, it'll give you good slow motion where when you take it into your editing software, you can slow that video down and it's good quality. Because that's another thing that y'all need to learn too, that your lighting is going to make a big difference on the format you're shooting in. So when, and I'm guilty of it too, because I can take my iPhone, and you wouldn't think, but LED lights, they run on 60 hertz.
So
and if you're shooting, you start seeing that flashing in your video when you do slow-mo. It's because the style you're shooting in, depending, like if you're doing 60 frames per second or 100, you know, you got to be different than the cycle of that lighting, so you don't get that flashing in there.
Right.
And I'm just now starting to learn about that. So that's another thing that you got to kind of pay attention, what kind of footage you're going to shoot and what you're going to try to accomplish with it, because that lighting will hinder it if you're not careful. Go ahead.
That the lighting's a whole nother ball of wax. Sometimes I did what was it? I don't remember which one it was. It might have been the pin turning one, A to Z. I was by the toolbox, and it's not that much light out there, so I have big photo lights out there, and they were so close to me. I had the camera in there, and they were just out of the camera view. So it's one of those, because I wear a hat, and there's a shadow, and there's all kinds of, and it just doesn't look good. So the lighting it's kind of a pain, but you have to do it. If you don't have a well lit area in here, it's fine. Outside the shop, it's not as good. So I have to drag lights all around the shop to do stuff. It's a pain. Jackie loves it.
I bet. Yeah, I mean that's something that even like in my shop, I've got a lot of lights out there, but I still find shadows. I still find them, even though, you know, it's bright out there and it seems like it's bright, there will be shadows, and that's where you got to bring in these other lights and shine them on your project that you're doing, so the camera will pick it up and it'll be crisp and clear when you have that, when you're doing that footage. So yeah,
There we go.
there you go. So we're about that time. We'll wrap it up. We'll just go around and let everybody know what we got going on this week. Who's gonna start?
Can we start with me so we're not being weird?
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah. Me and Jamie are going to be that show that he lets me be on it with him, Saturday morning cartoons. We're going to be doing some silicone mold making and have some stuff to give away too. So come and see us on there. And I got a couple of videos in the works. So that's about it.
All right. Go on, Jen.
Which way are we going?
You were right. You were right.
Clockwise.
Okay.
You were right, Jen.
Okay.
Zigzag.
Zigzag. I'm working on some new projects and had a couple nice sales this week, so that was good. And
Yes.
Monday morning, we'll finally get the news segment done and put that behind me. Stop worrying about it. And a few markets coming up. So that's about it.
You made the news. I usually try not to make the news.
I know.
Movie star.
Makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Just trying to get off work to get into the shop, so that I got a couple small little videos I got to shoot out, and that's about it right now.
All right. Yeah, I'm just gonna. I had every intentions of making a giant resin sphere this week, but it turns out I forgot to order a few bits. So hopefully I'll be able to get it started at some point this week. Apart from that, I'll probably end up doing a few bits that I've got written down in my little book. So pick a couple of them projects. So, and then obviously we've got cartoons on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Good deal. Well, I think I don't know. Am I gonna make a presence on Saturday morning?
I don't know. You have 3 weeks off. I don't know. You might have to reintroduce you to everybody.
I'll be on there with these guys on Saturday. I'm trying to figure out what my next video is, plan them out. So, I can have something out on YouTube next week and just continue on the other projects that I've been telling everybody I was going to do for the past year. We're going to try to do one eventually. But yeah, I got some tool reviews going to come up, and I think they're going to be cool. We'll see what happens. But anyhow, next week, same place, same time, same pretty faces. And next week's going to be another topic. We haven't figured it out yet, but we're going to figure it out, and we'll let y'all know.
They could always email us.
Have a good one. What's
We'll
that?
get there.
They can always email us and tell us what they think.
Yeah, there you go. That and I forgot. We finally made it onto iTunes. It is live. Go listen. Go give us a review. Remember, 5 stars, 6 stars, 10 stars, whatever it allows you. That's what you should put on there. Hopefully. But anyhow, till next week, we will see y'all later. Bye.